first liberation movement, ANC, and spiritualism, Ethiopianism, this information and separation, this together, I think I could call them a combination. So Ethiopianism provides the foundation of Pan-Africanism by providing the spiritual public good for the anti-colonial movement of the world. It provides to this day the spiritual public good. That's what it is. Spiritual public good. Yesterday I couldn't tell what. Against the imperial colonial project that continues, Ethiopianism can thus be revived to provide the spiritual public good, also for the African Renaissance, if we are clever, from fragmentation to unity and resistance, the real challenge today. So the Pan-African triple helix, Ethiopian resistance is one, the world union of Ethiopianisms from the diaspora is number two, the first liberation embassy with Ethiopianism as ideology. The triple helix are interconnected, they reinforce each other. They celebrate, we all must learn how to celebrate, we Africans, even Indians, I advise you, celebrate similarity and the hybrid synthesis built over long history and memory, while less appreciating any difference. You can appreciate difference, you don't have to fight because you are different. You are female or male, why do you have to fight if you appreciate? You're created like that. But at the same time, celebrate your similarity. If we do that, then we don't fight. No cost to us. Everything is moved with historical memory. It's not denied historical memory. Concrete examples about Ethiopia and what happened to others. In 1904, Haiti's 100th century independence was celebrated in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. An honored guard of Ethiopians volunteered. They fired several rifle rounds. Their slogan, "Long live Haiti, long live the Ethiopia of America." Benito Sylvian brought the permission from Emperor Menelik for the celebration. Sylvian represented both Ethiopia and Haiti in the 1900 Pan-African Congress, where I said Emperor Menelik became honorary president. It's interesting. 100 years of Haiti celebrated. You must understand about Haiti. The Haitians were amazing. Napoleon's army they defeated. Very decisive. But then the French, they controlled the resources and they produced sugar. Okay? Literally, they end up paying for France for this. In other words, they win. This is a problem with Africa. You can win decisively, but willingly you end up in a mess. And that's what has happened to Haiti for a long, long time. But Haiti is a great example. President Thabo Mbeki wanted to write a book on Adwa and Haiti. And we're going to meet him in May. He's going to give as I agreed with you, he's going to give a good lecture. And I think I would like this connection with Haiti and our very important history about us. ANC made Ethiopianism its founding ideology. The churches protested against racist theology of Ethiopianism. John Langa Bilene Dube was called a pronounced Ethiopianist, always under threat. The white authorities in South Africa, in 1906, they made a law. This Ethiopian propaganda is going to destroy us. We must. They killed Ethiopians. They did. They shot them. They arrested them. He was arrested. The first president of the African National Congress was arrested. He's a Zulu man. Even today's leaders such as Mandela and Thabo Mbeki remember the Ethiopian origin of the liberation movement. In fact, for the 21st century, Thabo Mbeki says we need a new Ethiopians. Actually, he actually said, he gave a speech at Addis Ababa University when they gave him honorary doctorate. He said we need new Ethiopians to actually, because we still have a problem. We haven't cleared it yet. Continuing Ethiopianism. Continuing Adwa victims, continuing Ethiopianism and Pan-Africanism, but also the African Renaissance, removing coloniality for good in Africa. Are we really decolonized ourselves? Has India decolonized itself? I have to ask that question. I don't want to get into trouble. Full unity and dignity by removing the current unity and dignity deficits in Africa. For Africa as a whole, to prove a free liberation imagination. Stop the donorized elites that allow the donorization of the African agenda. There's a lone, yet, yes, aid system that is destroying Africa. Can I just tell you, 6 times more resources every year go out of Africa than coming in. Africa is a donator. It's not donated. But you know what we hear? whatever little they give you, because they have the media control. I live in South Africa, and the media is, I get scared about the media, how they mistreat that beautiful land. It's a beautiful country, South Africa. I like it. It's a wonderful land, very, very nice land. And then they have all this problem. The media just plays games. What do? They talk more about what the NGOs and others give to Africa than what Africa gives. For example, South Africa, it costs South Africa, in our innovation side, on the technology side, it costs South Africa for technology transfer, that it brings in for technology to South Africa. It costs 1.9 billion every year for us to bring in technology. For South Africa, what it creates, what it manufactures, what it creates, it's really nothing. About 230 million or something. Nothing. It's extraordinary. When you have this kind of imbalance, foreign direct investment is not very developed. That's not how you change life. I spoke yesterday in our informal economy. My advisor gave a nice lecture about you don't change people by just getting foreign direct and technology from outside and paying for it. So it's a very complicated thing where our economy is complicated because we're integrated, we have huge resources. One place in Africa, the DRC Congo, I went recently to the DRC Congo, and Brazzaville and Kinshasa. The DRC Congo has resources estimated 24 trillion. That's a combined GDP of all of Europe and America. One place alone in Africa. The Sahara Desert, the sun, solar sun. If we extract, the physics is not difficult, the engineering is difficult. If we do it, we'll have green land, and we can give free energy to Europe. But they don't have to listen, to mess us about. But we can do it differently. But we don't have the control. We don't have the means to actually do it. I don't think there's no problem in handling, the sun. We could do it, but we're not doing it. So Africa is rich, too rich. And that's a challenge. It's a problem for us. And I think the same thing now in Ethiopia we have now in the areas, there's Afar area and this is hot. But we can solve it. And we don't solve it by just giving when people are starving. No, we prevent it. The best form of cure is prevention. You could do it by making sure that you handle the solar energy system. And we should do the technology, we should do the science, we should do the research to do it, and so on like that. It's another matter. I don't want to go to the other side, but it's a very serious issue. So we need Africa as a whole to free liberation imagination, stop the ignorant elites that have this agenda. So Adwa's victory for Africa's future as one of the key founding pillars of the Pan-African helix and as a provider of Ethiopianism's spiritual public good by revitalizing self-worth, confidence, pride, self-reliance, liberation, faith, liberation movements like the pillar of the ANC, stronger, revive the pillar of the Pan-African Congress, together build a strong, united, proud, and free Africa. And for the Global South, as the spiritual values of Ethiopianism laid the foundation for Pan-Africans to unite all Africans to fight colonialism and apartheid, the same values that Ethiopianism as Pan-African has been founded with, self-worth, and needed also to realize the African Renaissance today by enabling Africans to emerge as an independent, strong, proud leader rather than men follower of former colonial powers in the 21st century. I say let the Adwa victory continues. Learn through Adwa victory to remove division, realize fully the benefits of unity. The Adwa victory must continue, highlighting Ethiopianism for Africa, the Global South, and the oppressed in the world. All Ethiopians who are currently living in what is known as Ethiopia must appreciate they are privileged to be associated with the name Ethiopia. They all must know Ethiopia is more than the country it is now. It is not a country. It is spiritually constructed. It has given spiritual public good, better than what America gave. It's giving now. Better than don't call me nationalist or anything. It's nothing to do with that. From what I read, this is extraordinary. Ethiopia has played a very extraordinary kind of, really role in the world, and has given some really good public resource to the world. So let's do it that way. all must know Ethiopia is more than the countries now. They must cherish the honor of being Ethiopians forever. The least they can do is to unite and learn the culture of dialogue to make Ethiopia live ever in the eternal river of time. Is it done? Why is it? What happened? There were other things in it. I think it's finished.
Relevance and uniqueness of Ethiopian or African public. It is a very large context, both historical as well as global. Time, space, treatment of Pacific education for that. And what is the takeaway for Africans who are studying Africa? Students who are doing that. Also, he had pointed out that Ethiopianism or Adwa victory is not confined to Ethiopia, and he also gave the triple helix to say how globally its presence is long time. I have a few take on this, and I will come to that. I would suggest that the triple helix must start from George Patmore, from Caribbean, from Jamaica, who organized this Pan-African movement for the first time, much before any others could do, much before even Pan-African Congress of 1900 came. And there's fascinating works on that how he did that. So he was Congress at that point in time. How he organized and how he conceptualized William Sylvester from Kenya later on, aspect. Also, when we talk about the second aspect of the helix, we must also bring not just Dubé of South Africa, but Dubé from India as well. We should feel that he established the Pan-African, the ANC, African National Congress. But the point I was making that it's the Indian Native Congress early 1990s that also gave a kind of inspiration and kind of structure that inspired the formation of the African National Congress. And when you had to do it from there is Gandhi from India, who was working very closely how to organize the political formations. And he himself was a diaspora, and he himself organized the resistance movement over there against so confined to Indians to begin with. But it's a resistance that came up and which had the global significance. The other thing that I wanted to say that the Adwa victory was also, as you say, the resistance, but the resistance which was surfacing globally. In 1885, we had Indian National Congress that was formed in India under the political formation. In 1857, we had the first war of Indian independence, which almost defeated the Britishers out of power for some time. The kind of victory, of course, the Britishers were far more nice, clever, colonial power than Italian that face. But the point remains that resistance was globally, and Ethiopian expression of Adwa victory was part of the global resistance and part of African trace of that resistance that came up. It was a global resistance against colonialism. You must understand that 1857 was first part of Indian independence against colonialism, and 1885 was the organized attempt by Europeans to capture Africa. So it was going simultaneously both the conquest and the resistance at global level. But yes, the fact remains that today we have to celebrate, and for celebration of a nation, for people, for the history is very important. And history that are constructed on the basis of myth are difficult to sustain. Though myth is very important in construction of history in many ways. If you see Terence the work on African history and a contribution of myth into that. But Adwa is not a myth in history, and it's a history that Africa should celebrate for its resistance, for preserving uniqueness, and for demonstrating to the world that Africa can do itself with its governance, with its development, or with its managing its own affairs. But we are told that we were given the modern system of governance. We were told how to be modern in terms of economy, in terms of governance. But Ethiopia all along signified that Africans can do it on their own without any lessons from global master. And that is not confined to African, who is beyond the boundary of Africa, that the natives can do everything alone without European influence. That's very important for us also to understand. In terms of relevance for the contemporary world, I think Adwa has a relation to those who want to drive. So Ethiopia also has a relation, which one would like to understand that Ethiopia, though maintains its independence, it also now is a part of the organization. It also engages the world. And it also shows that though Adwa was a resistance to Europeanism, it is not prisoner of history. Beyond history, you can learn from history, but also engage those who are advocacy. So I will stop it here. I know there would be different views on this, so I would like to listen to them.
Some comments are responsible. As presentation brought out that challenge is psychological or mental construction. That resistance comes not only physically but also the fact that like race and other categories are constructed, and these constructions are then used for subversion, for subjugation and positing other traits. Similarly, the struggle also has to be in terms of alternative struggles, and in that sense, a victory, military victory against the big power is an enormous contribution. It is a struggle which has not ended, because the struggle continues, because until the ends that are aimed for, it is a continuous struggle. And there, as your professor pointed out, that how the victory has to be seen in a far more larger context, a global context, and I think it should be seen along with other struggles which are happening, like he spoke about the Haitian struggle, and there are struggles across the globe against against the colonial categorization, the construction of identities and race through the colonial project. I think there is a need for us, as scholars from the South, or as scholars looking at the issue of South, to interrogate these categories and see how they can bringing more meaning, and then maybe looking at categories across territorial spaces of Africa, of Asia, or Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malaka sir. I would like to personally thank Sir Muchie for pushing me for this panel discussion and bringing me here. So I'm not an expert in African studies and Adwa, but I don't know what he saw in me and he said that you have to be in the panel. So it's a lot of learning experience from Mammo because I know him from last year, and we had a lot of discussions and we still have a lot of discussion on history. So I think Adwa, great African Adwa victory and relevance from Global South. So I think it has wider socio-cultural significance for the Global South because Adwa victory, it was a war which was fought against a colonial empire. So Italy was not as strong as other colonial masters, but still it was a colonial power. But the larger essence and how it connects to India, Global South corporates, the least developed countries or the developing countries, but to contextualize in the case of India, I think historically India, taking out contextualize Global South, Indian perspective, India and Africa have many things in historical sense similar in terms of repression and exploitation, whether India was also ruled by Britishers, India was colonized, and Africa was colonized, so we share the similarity of being oppressed by colonial masters. And Africa, even before colonialism had formed, had faced slavery, the Roman Empire, and in India, we of course have a classic discrimination of caste system where there is an extreme and deep form of discrimination in society, and people are differentiated. So, of course, there is a lot of similarity in that sense. And I think what Africa and India can learn and share in terms of Adwa victory is the essence of that resistance. The point which you call about the free liberation imagination or the African Renaissance. I think in the Indian context, it should be that how we, in India, or how relating it to Africa and India, how this free liberation imagination can be conceptualized. So even in India, we are free from colonialism, but I think our minds are still colonized because I study a lot of history of science. So there's an author called David Arnold, he has worked on the colonized body. Talks about how the Britishers did all medical experiments on Indian subjects. And from that, I take forward and I say that we are having a colonized mind. In many of our mental constructs, we are still colonized, we are not free. And even in the case of India, there's a lot of discrimination still being faced by many of the deprived classes in the society. This is the way the black people in Africa are facing, in America, in Europe, the sense. So me and Mammo were watching the CCTV debate last night in the TV, and there was debate going about what Barack Obama is doing in America, but he being African American president, but still deep sense of racial hatred and things are going in America. It shows how it's deeply entrenched in society and how, whether it's the black people in Africa or in America, in Europe, or the segregated people in India or the people who are facing caste discrimination in India, are always culturally conditioned to think that they are in the lower front. So I think that free liberation imagination is this essence which has to be fought. And the other aspect which comes from the Adwa victory is the notion of challenging the Eurocentric view of the world, which is very much coming from education, because a couple of authors who have written about this from the science perspective, like people like Roy McLeod, Dhruv Raina, Deepak Kumar, I read a lot of them, so I contextualize them in this case. So the whole idea of English education or modern education, I think it is one factor which still colonizes us in a way that it still makes us think a lot of aspects in European sense. And I think the point should be that Adwa victory and how Pan-Africanism and Ethiopianism and its bridges which connects India is the point that how we try to juxtapose our knowledge systems, our traditional value systems, vis-a-vis the Western system. So I think because of this dominant paradigm of Eurocentric universalism, Africa or the global South has always this, there's a classic article by R.K. Ramanujan, Indian philosophy and Western philosophy, that he says that and I contextualize it to the South, that we have this burden to always show ourselves from how good we are from West. So I think that is very much problematic. So I think African Adwa victory has more connection in historical values which both India and Africa have. So I'd like to know. Thank you.
Professor Ruwan, Prasad from Delhi University. Give some insight. Before the opening of the floor for all of you, certain points which I have to consciously. Sir, you happen to face one time Adwa from Colonial Power. But our country has faced many foreigners aliens in the ancient period itself. Till now, I will explain because today still we are facing new colonial in the form of new liberal onslaught. Aryans we faced. We face later on status and these were outsiders. We had we had programs. We had Muga, we had French, we had Portuguese, 1900s, Portuguese and Poland, in British also. At last, British annexed